Hey everybody, what's up? 9.9 bonus balance patch notes have been released and will be going live on October 4th. So we're going to do a quick video to review them and kind of talk about things as we head into the first weekend of the SPL. So these notes will be going live on October 4th. So actually after the first week of the SPL, it won't really be in response to anything happening at pro level play. What you're going to see here are mostly going to be targeted nerfs at things that have been very strong in ranked and casual play heading into the last split of this year in Season 9 for the SPL. So if I were to kind of go through what I would expect to be nerfed in these bonus mount patches, or what I would want to see, in my opinion, solo lane and support are the two strongest roles in the game currently, mainly because of their builds. I'd say the damage, especially from both of those roles, are very, very high. The main offender of that, no surprise, is Mana Core Spike. So Mana Core Spike along with Gladiator Shield and Bluestone for the solo laners, whereas support's mainly just Mana Core Spike. I'd expect some combination of those to get hit, and then normally there's a couple God balance things in here as well. So first, skins, nothing too crazy. Everyone's been talking about the Taco Sura, Bakasura skin. It's kind of goofy, along with the hamburger Xing Chen and hot dog Odin or whatever. You can have a whole feast on your team if you'd like. So that's kind of cool. A couple new skins coming out, a couple bug fix, actually just one bug fix. Scorpions, these did not regen HP once leashed. Okay, interesting. So I think this is the solo side, like little mini XP camp that's over there. I didn't realize that they actually did that, but I do now. Bonus balance live October 4th, as we said. Bluestone, one of the items that I had mentioned, decrease the bonus damage scaling on the item's passive from 7.5% to 6% of the target's current health. So this actually is a pretty good nerf. Bluestone on warriors does so much damage to objectives, because if the warrior can hit like a Titan or hit Fire Giant or hit Gold Fury early on, the percent damage that this thing does to objectives, like you could go, if you're like ending the game and you're a warrior, or even if you're just a hunter and you have like Bluestone Brooch or whatever, you're doing like thousands of damage just with your Bluestone if you apply it at a high enough HP. It's really, really crazy. Of course, on gods, it's a lot of damage as well. So I definitely like seeing this nerf. It's mainly targeted for solo lane, but I think something that's also important to talk about here is how it can affect some ability-based hunters. So Neith, AMC, Chiron, those are really the Uller. Those are probably the main four that I think about with this item. And having this be hit for them does impact them quite a bit. I'd say especially Chiron, one of his stronger points is being able to just aught and, you know, apply Bluestone, apply Heartseeker, you know, Crusher, whatever else, and then shoot his 2 on people and do like half of multiple like people's health at the start of a team fight. So I think that hurts him a decent amount. I think it also hurts if your hunter is a Bluestone character, they tend to have slightly lower attack speed and objective DPS. So hitting their objective DPS even harder on this upgrade could be pretty impactful. So that's more the area that I'm interested in. Warrior's Axe got buffed for solo lane, so going from Bluestone to Warrior's Axe I think is probably something you can expect a lot of solo laners to do now that this has been nerfed a little bit, but Bluestone's completely fine. Characters that kind of rely on it are going to be totally fine, can still use it. The upgrade is a little bit weaker. Gladiator Shield, similar sort of deal, mainly for solo laners. Decrease the bonus damage scaling on the item's passive from 35 to 30% of your protections from items and abilities. So I don't think this is actually that big of a nerf. These two are just kind of cumulatively nerfing late game solo lane damage. Gladiator Shield is still going to be a very core item for solo laners. Again, it's just tweaking warrior damage a little bit. I think for the most part, it's the combination of the items between Bluestone, Mana Core, and Gladiator Shield that does a lot. They're still going to do a lot. Characters like Arthur, for example, that are very spammy, have a lot of abilities. You're still going to see this Gladiator Shield do, you know, 300-400 damage over the course of a team fight, you know, if they can just continuously hit you over and over and over. But it is tweaked a little bit, does make them a little bit weaker, combined with some other changes. Maybe you see Guardians or some other magical characters like a Zhang Kui, that type of stuff, maybe pop up in solo lane. You never really know, but to me, this one seems like the least significant of the 3 nerfs. Moving on to Mana Core Spike. Of course, as we all should have expected, decrease the damage on this item's passive from 4 to 8%, the 8% being if you pick up your own spike, to 3 to 6% of the ally/item's owner max HP. So Mana Core Spike, if you don't know how it works, basically you apply a hard CC to an enemy, it'll drop a spike on the ground. If you pick up that spike and it is your spike, so let's say I Fafnir stun somebody, I pick up my own spike, and then I hit them with my jump to apply the spike. It'll apply the damage on your next ability that you hit on them. It'll do 8% damage of my health, 8% of my health as damage, whereas if my teammate picks it up, it'll do 4% of their health as damage. So it's better to always pick up your own spike. It'll always do more damage that way. It basically nerfs the damage by 2% in most applications. In my opinion, this nerf is near irrelevant. Again, I think for solo laners, it's pretty significant. The combination of these 3 nerfs for solo laners, I think, is very impactful. When you look at this in a vacuum for the support role, in my opinion, this does nothing. The biggest thing for Mana Core Spike for me is the stats that it gives you. For 2200 gold, it is just incredibly stat efficient. Gives you 35 of each procs and 300 health, and basically makes it impossible for you to run out of mana. Even if that didn't have a proc on it and was just a stat stick, you would still see it get built all the time. The fact that it also gives you damage is still pretty significant. You know, the proc might go from 130 damage to 110 or something, and you are going to lose a little bit of damage, and of course that can be the difference between kills. In my opinion, I'm still going to build it first item a lot of games. I'm still going to build it probably every single game just in general, even if I don't go at first item. I think the item is just way too good not to go. The MP5 is too strong, the procs are too strong, just everything. This item, in my opinion, desperately needs to be... It desperately needs to have a price increase. If you don't see this item go up to 2,400 gold, 2,350 gold, something to be on par with Thebes and Renewal, until you see it get nerfed to that point, you should still consider that this is one of, if not the best items in the game for you to go and support, and you should base the characters you're playing, the builds you're going around this item. It is still super core. In my opinion, this nerf does absolutely nothing for support. You should still go at every game. Transcendence. This is actually an interesting one. Decrease the physical power from 40 to 35. I'm actually interested in this description. The item is dominating physical builds and it has been for a while now, but we want to be careful about Hunter and Assassin balance overall, so we're opting for a smaller nerf. This should be open up more build options to compete with Transcendence without nerfing the classes too heavily. In my opinion, this actually doesn't do anything along those lines because this is only the base power. Transcendence will still be the highest power item that you can go as a physical character. I don't think that it's actually that powerful in jungle. You'll still see it in jungle a lot just as a damage scaling item. To me, this is mostly a nerf to hunters and I guess some like transcend soul laners. I guess it is pretty impactful for junglers in general, but I don't really see this one. I think the nerf of Transcendence in combination with Bluestone, this is actually going to hit ability-based hunters quite a bit. AMC is the first one off the top of my head. I think has been a very, very strong character the entire season for the past couple years, so I'm kind of excited to see that get nerfed for him. But overall, I wouldn't consider those to be the 2 strongest type of characters. I think that tanks in general have been much more powerful. I do kind of like the nerf for hunter mids now that mages have gotten buffed a little bit. I do like this nerf for the mid lane matchups. The hunter mids, you know, the AMCs, the Chirons, the Neefs, the Ulers of the world, in comparison to mages that have been struggling in the early game. I do think this could help the mages in the early game a little bit, but overall I'm a bit confused by this nerf. I do see it built all the time, but I wouldn't think that's a bad thing. Like, I do think trans is a really strong item, but it doesn't strike me as one where I'm like, oh yeah, they should definitely nerf that. Those classes are OP or anything. So really interesting to me here. If they're going to nerf Transcendence like this, I'd like to see buffs elsewhere in the 9.10 patch in a few weeks. I'd like to see them buff some other build paths to kind of open that up, because recently we've gotten Soul Eater nerf and Transcendence nerf, and Devos isn't like in the strongest spot ever. So to me, this is just a bit of a question mark. I think it's nerfing hunters in a meta where tanks are kind of already better. I guess you did get some nerfs on solo laners, like triple nerf on solo lane build, so I think it's fair to bring it down a little bit, but yeah, I'm just a little bit confused by it. God balance time. For God balance, we have Yu Huang. He is definitely a very common pick just due to how safe he is, how much, you know, kind of control he has in his kit with a root, having his ult as well. People have gotten a lot better with that since the goddess came out, as they've gotten to play with him more and more. And of course, he's just, you know, fairly safe, does good damage from range over walls, all that type of stuff. So he's been a very consistently good character. Small nerf here. The magical power scaling on the push damage of his dragons from 60 to 50. The main damage on your dragon is actually the explosion if you can hit it in the center and have both dragons kind of collide. The push damage is really high, but I don't think this is really that big of a deal. It's a very small nerf, and again, this is more targeted to the high level of play when you can actually use your alt as a displacement tool, not just as like a follow-up tool. So, somewhat interesting. I don't really think it shouldn't change when you would pick Yu Hong or not. He's just going to be a little bit more on par with other mages. A lot of mages have been buffed recently, so could shake things up a little bit in the mid lane meta. Should be fun to see this upcoming weekend for the SPL. Cabrakan, this god is broken. Absolutely broken. He abuses Mana Core Spike as well, if not better, than pretty much any other character in the game. And yeah, he's just been very, very good. He's good with full damage. He's good as a tank build. He's been one of the top supports throughout the past few patches. So Refraction Shield decreased his base damage from 100 to 320 to 80 to 300. As always, whenever they do a nerf like this that's linear, 20 damage at all ranks, it hits him hardest at rank 1 of it. So his early game burst damage is going to be a little bit worse in lane. I would say that is a good nerf. The Tremor nerf decreased base damage per tick from 22 to 62 to 18 to 58. 4 damage a tick here. That is significant, but in my opinion, from the support role, I would have rather seen a cooldown nerf here. I believe they don't really do cooldown nerfs in bonus balance, so this might be something that we're going to see in patch 9.10 if Cabrakan continues to be played at a very high clip in the SPL and just in the game in general after this bonus balance nerf. But in my opinion, in the laning phase, the big thing with Cabrakan is that even if you interrupt his 3 cooldown, his Tremors, it's a shorter cooldown than every other hard CC that you're using to interrupt it. Generally, you're going to be on a longer cooldown for a stun, a knock-up, whatever, to cancel him out of the Tremors, whereas Tremors, I think, is a 10-second base cooldown, something like that. So he's able to just kind of recast it and get wave pressure over and over with it. So it's a decent nerf. It does nerf his kind of like one-shot macro. A lot of his items got buffed if you're playing him in a damage role. Bancroft's Claw is very good on him. Polynomicon is very good on him. So I do think the nerfs are warranted. I'm interested to see if it actually changes his play viability or play rate. And then lastly, King Arthur is getting nerfed. Excalibur's Wrath. This is his big energy, you know, his max alt, whatever you want to call it. Big boy alt, you know. It has had its damage decreased from 5 to 11% of your max HP on landing to 5 to 9% on landing. A little bit of late game damage nerf on that one, but it's only on the landing hit. So if you do cleanse or beads this ability early, it won't really affect the damage at all. It won't really feel nerfed. The biggest nerf for Arthur in this patch is, of course, just the triple nerf to Bluestone, Gladiator Shield, and Mana Core Spike. Arthur now having, between those 3, along with Soul Eater and Sovereignty, 5 of his possible items that he would normally build, 5 of his core potential items, mainly just Sovereignty along with these 3, so 4 items have been nerfed somewhat significantly. All of that definitely adds up, along with, you know, just his kit being nerfed a little bit damage-wise in general. So I'd expect that you'll still see a lot of Arthur. I think that he's still very strong, but you might see him feel a little bit weaker. I think he is the best warrior in the game by a very large margin currently, so I think the nerfs are absolutely warranted, and I think these 3 nerfs specifically are very good. So are tanks dead? We'll see on the bonus balance patch on Tuesday. Anyways, guys, that is it for the bonus patch notes review. By the time you're seeing this video, we will probably have SPL finally return. We're coming back. I am recording this on Thursday night, September 29th. SPL is back on September 30th. Super pumped about that. Should be a lot of fun. I will be back to streaming the games on the days that I'm not playing a good bit of the time, so you can check me out on Twitch. The link will be in the description below, as well as you can support all of my awesome teammates. Their links to their Twitch channels. All 5 of us stream a very good amount, you know, pretty much multiple nights every single week, you know, 3-4 times a week, most of us. So we're all back to streaming. We're all back to the SPL. Super exciting time to be a Smite fan for the push into World, so I hope you guys are pumped up. Also, if you don't know, if you are bigger onto YouTube than you are for Twitch or Twitter, just so you know, SPL merchandise, new jerseys have been released as well, and they are purchasable. There will be a link to that in the description also if you want to support the Jade Dragons or any other of your favorite teams or players. The link will be down there, and you guys can go check that out. So super excited to get into the World's push this year. It's going to be a good time. Pumped to have it back in person. And yeah, I'm just excited to get back to some good old Smite. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment if there's anything else you'd like to see. And go ahead and like, subscribe, you know, all that other stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Chibi Ross says that.